major bipartisan issue in Maryland is congressional redistricting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that gerrymandering leads to the type of election we're having this year with a potentially brokered convention and the rhetoric?
Well, listen, congressional redistricting is a question that the framers of our Constitution left to the states, and each state has the authority to make those determinations, and they wrestle over those every 10 years, and that's appropriate. The result we're seeing today stems from, we started with 17 candidates in the Republican Party, an amazingly diverse, talented field. And it took time for the field to narrow down, and so naturally, when you have that many talented, dynamic, young, terrific candidates, people naturally supported lots of different candidates. At this point, where we find ourselves today, there are only two candidates who have a plausible path to becoming the Republican nominee, me and Donald Trump. And where we are headed, nobody's going to get to 1237. Mm-hmm. We're headed to a contested convention in Cleveland, and then in Cleveland, it is going to be a battle to see who can earn the support of a majority of the delegates elected by the people. And I am confident that we will be in the far stronger position to prevail, unifying the party and earning the support of a majority of those delegates who've been elected.
So the Never Trump campaign this week said that you should drop out of Maryland and John Kasich should drop out of some other states so you guys could help each other amass delegates. What do you think about a plan like that?
Listen, you can't beat something with nothing. If you don't want to see Donald Trump as the nominee, and nationwide 65 to 70% of Republicans don't recognize that Donald Trump is not the best candidate to go head-to-head with Hillary Clinton, that if Donald is the nominee, Hillary wins, and Hillary wins by double digits. On the other hand, if I'm the nominee, we beat Hillary. We beat her in the key swing states, we beat her with independents, we beat her with young people. We win the general election. So if you don't want to see Donald Trump as the nominee, if you don't want to hand the general election to Hillary Clinton, the only candidate who has beaten Donald Trump over and over and over again, and the only candidate who has any path to beating Donald Trump for the nomination is me. And that's really the reason we have seen so many Republicans uniting behind our campaign. Of the 17 Republican candidates who started this campaign, 5 have endorsed our campaign. We've been endorsed by Rick Perry, by Lindsey Graham, by Jeb Bush, by Scott Walker, and Carly Fiorina. And that reflects the tremendous diversity of views across the ideological spectrum of the Republican Party who are uniting behind our campaign, behind a positive, optimistic, forward-looking, conservative vision to bring back jobs and freedom and security in this country. I think those are the priorities of the American people, and those will be my priorities as president.
You talked about jobs. Biotechnology is a fast-growing industry here in Maryland. And I'm wondering, what you think the government's role should be in that type of research within the government and in private enterprise, and whether or not you think there are certain research areas that should be off limits for government funding.
So my number one priority as president will be jobs and economic growth. And I am a huge supporter of biotech. The key to economic growth is lifting the burdens of government on small businesses. 2/3 of all new jobs in our economy come from small businesses. If you want to kill economic growth, you just do what we've done the last 7 years. You hammer small businesses with crushing taxes and regulations, and you get the stagnation that we've got right now. On the flip side, both John F. Kennedy and Ronald Reagan demonstrated when you lift regulations, when you reduce taxes on the American people and on small businesses, the result is the American free enterprise system produces millions and millions of new high-paying jobs. I intend to do exactly what John F. Kennedy and Ronald Reagan did. Lift the burden of Washington on small businesses and allow the incredible can-do spirit of the American people to expand jobs. When it comes to biotech has been expanding tremendously. I think we need to invest much, much more in cures for some of the most damaging diseases. I chair the Science and Space Subcommittee of the Senate Commerce Committee. Mm-hmm. And I chaired a hearing bringing in experts looking at cures to diseases, looking at cures to some of the very worst diseases, the most costly diseases in terms of human lives, in terms of dollars, whether it is heart disease, whether it is cancer, whether it is diabetes, whether it is Alzheimer's. I believe we should dramatically increase our investment to cure those diseases, which not only would save potentially trillions of dollars, going forward, but it would also save millions of lives. And I would note as well that one of the barriers to the biotech community are the burdensome rules coming from the FDA. It is incredibly difficult and long and burdensome to get a new drug approved, to get a new medical device approved. I've introduced legislation to streamline FDA approval that will benefit the biotech community by encouraging innovation, by reducing the delays, reducing the costs, so that we can spark innovation and continue to have biotech driving jobs and new discoveries each and every day.
Okay. And final question, our sheriff was on Capitol Hill this week testifying about local immigration enforcement. I'm wondering, what role do you think local law enforcement agencies should have in immigration enforcement, if any?
When it comes to illegal immigration, the American people are fed up with an administration in Washington that refuses to enforce our laws, that refuses to secure the borders. You know, I represent the state of Texas, which has 1,200 miles of border with Mexico. This administration refuses to secure the border. As president, I will secure the border. We will build a wall. We will triple the Border Patrol. We will increase fourfold the fixed wing and rotary wing aircraft. And when it comes to local law enforcement, right now the federal government works in hostility and opposition to local law enforcement. I think for the federal government and local law enforcement should work hand in hand cooperatively enforcing the laws. And as president, the Justice Department and the Department of Homeland Security will work closely with local law enforcement to enforce our laws, to end sanctuary cities, and to stop and end the problem of illegal immigration.